Welcome back. Now, the Middle East conflict is disrupting critical shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea. It has forced major shipping companies to reroute their vessels away from the strait. Now, the crisis has forced ships traveling between Asia and Europe to take the longer route around the Cape of Good Hope. A Danish shipping company, Maersk, said in a statement that it would suspend all vessels crossing the Strait of Hormuz until further notice. Ports such as Cape Town and Durban could see more ships passing through or stopping for logistical support, including refuelling and maintenance. Now, to further discuss these developments, we're joined now by the Executive Chairperson of the Maritime Business Chamber, Unathi Sonti. Mr. Sonti, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Mr. Sakina, and yes, thank you for having me.
Perhaps we can just start by just explaining to everyone why the Strait of Hormuz is important.
Look, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important maritime choke points. You know, the strait itself, it controls and it transports mostly roughly about 20 to 30%, of all the world's oil exports, which they pass through there daily. And it connects, the Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, and then via the Indian Ocean. It's a major export route, for places such as Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, and Iran, moving all of that to closer destinations.
Now, if we could also just explain this crisis and what does it mean for global shipping currently?
This is a serious problem, because it then means a majority of the shipping companies that would have normally used the Strait of Hormuz for transport for transporting or for safe transit would have then been able to travel, one quicker towards their next destination in transporting their exports. We know this is a major disruption for, industries such as your oil and gas, your manufacturing, in goods, which comes from Asia, coming that side. Also, it is also a disruption with regards to the grain and bulk commodities that pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
And then if we look at what it means for ordinary people around the world, the Strait of Hormuz, it carries roughly 20% of global oil and also a significant portion of the LNG, that's the natural gas shipments. So looking at that, how serious is this current disruption also for global energy?
Look, if we look at basically what would be the challenges, already we know that oil and gas is up by $100 per barrel, so that is a direct effect to that. The detouring of ships as well, it would mean that's going to take about now 10 to 15 days, meaning there is now no guarantee of exactly when probably your consignments or your goods would arrive. And obviously, again, one of the key things that has happened, this has also increased, the premium, the risk of the insurance premium to up to 50%, which is now, and at the same time, the P&Is for insurance, they have also now said they do not offer war-related risk, surcharges. So this means then you are on your own. That's why majority of the shipping lines would suspend, shipping via the Strait of Hormuz, and some would even suspend shipping until they are sure if even the alternative route would work for them.
So, Mr. Sonti, what is the overall scale of disruption for the shipping community?
Look, if we're talking one key things that are currently happening, we have learned last night that we've got over 20,000 of our seafarers that are stuck there. That is a major issue. Those are our brothers and sisters throughout the world that are stuck with, just around the Strait of Hormuz. So that is one critical issue. There's quite a number of goods that are there. There is also, goods that are there, whether it is your furnitures, your grain, and whatever that is in those vessels. And this is obviously going to be, because the other risk is the fact that we do not know, there's been, vessels that have been attacked, and there's been no one exactly who is able to say this is the person who has, fired the missile in this. So it poses a great, threat to the shipping community if that continues. But it also opens up an opportunity for all the other, ports that are within the alternative shipping route.
And how fundamentally different is this from past crises that we've seen in the Middle East in as far as the shipments through the Strait of Hormuz is concerned?
Look, with the recent issue with regards to the Red Sea passage, when that has happened towards the Suez Canal issue that we've seen in the past, the difference is ports in Oman and all these ones that are closer, they were still able to to operate, and that is the difference now. But with this now, it means so the likes of there was still movement of LNG, oil and gas at that time, because it was just the Suez Canal. But now with the strait, it means now it blocks even everything else. So that's why this one is a major, disruption than all the other ones that we have seen in that area before.
And then as you were explaining the rerouting that some companies are opting for, this, of course, could temporarily place South Africa along one of the busiest maritime routes in the world. Do we have sufficient capacity, though, to handle the large volume of vessels that may pass through?
Honestly, at this stage, I don't think we would be able to handle such a high volume of traffic that would be coming. There is a potential, of at least capturing a few, but high volume traffic, it also attracts quite a number of things. It attracts as well, ship emergencies, breakdowns, and all of those things, and of which, as a country, there's quite a number of these, auxiliary services that we do not have in place to be able to attract that, including our capacity in terms of salvage services, towage services of distressed vessels. So there's an opportunity, but also there is a great element where we would not be able to capture this. This won't be an opportunity for South Africa, as we have seen in the past. And we know that with also, only having, because this also requires, high bunker fuel requests or requirements from the vessels. They would, so the bunker supplies would now increase. The demand for bunker supplies would increase, and I don't think we've got that capacity to be able to attract all of that and to be able to manage that in the current stand of either the ports that would, attract this, which would be a port of Cape Town, port of Ngqura, and a port of Cape Town, that would be able to attract or be able to capture these vessels that are coming. So we are there, and I don't think, I think it's one of those that I can say it's going to be another missed call with our current status as a country.
And with no end in sight, we don't know how long this is going to continue for, Mr. Sonti. What is the worst case scenario if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed for a prolonged period?
Look, this would now be something closer to what had happened during COVID, where there might be, even though there are alternative routes, but there would be serious ramifications to this because many of countries depend on that oil and gas that is stuck there. And we have also learned yesterday that even Saudi Arabia now is struggling in terms of storage because they normally, supply high quantities on a daily basis. So there's going to be serious ramifications, from this globally. It's going to be a global crisis similar to COVID, where there may be countries that would not be able to operate because they are short of, of gas for them to be able to continue with their day-to-day operations. So it's going to have serious and huge, damage. And also, with seafarers being stuck there, it's going to cause another serious challenge, in terms of what's this, the mental health issues as they are stuck there, not knowing, what to do. And I think those countries within, in an alternative shipping route would be able to come in and assist with that and offer, the much needed relief for crew changes in this instance. But again, this is a great opportunity for South Africa to position itself. This is a great opportunity for South Africa to pronounce itself, in fact, the entire southern continent, to pronounce itself as an alternative route, even though it's 10, 15, days longer, but it's an alternative route. And that is going to start with also South Africa being able to recognize that it is now a member of the IMO Council.
Well, Mr. Sonti, thank you so much for that enlightenment. Unathi Sonti, Executive Chairperson of the Maritime Business Chamber, talking to us about the Strait of Hormuz crisis. A quick break before we say goodbye.